جديد وضيف جديد في لقاء خاص. اليوم نحن في ضيافة سعادة سفير المملكة المتحدة السفير سعادة السفير آندرو نوبل. الحديث سوف يكون عن العلاقات الثنائية بين الجزائر والمملكة المتحدة في شقها السياسي الأمني الاقتصادي وكذا الثقافي. تابعونا لنتعرف أكثر. تم تعيين آندرو نوبل سفيرا للمملكة المتحدة لدى الجزائر خلفا للسيد مارتن روبر في 2014، وتسلم منصبه خلال شهر جوان من السنة الماضية. نوبل صرح لدى وصوله الجزائر أنه يتطلع بشدة للارتقاء بالعلاقات بين الجزائر وبريطانيا إلى مستوى جديد في جميع المجالات كالأمن والدفاع والتجارة، إضافة إلى اللغة الإنجليزية والتعليم العالي. واعتبر أن الجزائر تلعب دورا إقليميا رئيسيا في وقت ترغب فيه المملكة المتحدة تعميق علاقاتها أكثر فأكثر مع شريك بهذه الأهمية.
So good evening, Your Excellency, and thank you for welcoming us here at the British Embassy.
It's a great pleasure.
And thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of our show. So today is the first day of Ramadan. What would you want to say to the Algerians for this occasion?
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. بمناسبة حلول شهر رمضان المبارك يشرفني أن أتقدم إلى كافة الشعب الجزائري والجالية الجزائرية بالمملكة المتحدة بأحر التهاني وأطيب التماني، وأنا على دراية تامة بماذا أهمية هذا الشهر بالنسبة للشعب الجزائري والأمة الإسلامية، ولما يحمله من معاني سامية كالتسامح والرحمة والعطاء. فشهر رمضانكم وكل عام وأنتم بخير.
So thank you. I heard that you have a very good or fluent Arabic, but now I'm witnessing that. So thank you. On behalf of Algeria, thank you for this message. June 2014, June 2015, exactly a year since you came to Algeria as Her Majesty's ambassador here in Algeria. How would you evaluate this year as an ambassador, first of all, in regard of bilateral relations, and also did your perception to Algeria and Algerians changed?
Well, first of all, can I just say to everybody watching that I've had a marvellous first year, and I'm really, really touched by the very warm welcome that I've had here in Algiers, in other parts of the country. And I just wish I was able to travel more, because I've come to realise that the Algerian people are extremely warm, extremely welcoming to me, to my family and to my country. And it's been a wonderful first year. It's been very busy. The highlight, I guess, was the investment conference that we had in December, where we had a room full of significant British businessmen talking to their Algerian opposite numbers about future business opportunities in this country. That was followed by an encounter in Downing Street between my Prime Minister and Prime Minister Salal. And then we had the visit of the Foreign Secretary here, and he was able to call on President Bouteflika. And that was, those are just exceptional events for any diplomat in any posting, and I've had it all in my first year. So I think the dynamic in this relationship is increasing all of the time, and I'm just looking forward to the next year.
Hopefully it's going to be better than this year.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. So, Your Excellency, you said when you were appointed as ambassador, and I quote here, that Algeria is a key player and the UK wishes to deepen its relation with an important partner. First, what do you mean by this statement, and why it took so many years to the UK to start having more interest in Algeria?
These are very good questions indeed. The first one, I think you can answer in all sorts of different ways. But one area that we've had of real growth in this year has been the dialogue that we've had with the Algerian government on questions of regional security. The dialogue on Libya has probably been the closest. Our views entirely fit with each other's. We don't want outside interference. We want a fully inclusive peace settlement involving all Libyans except the terrorists. And we fully support the UN process as the only means to deliver that. And that's something that we've been talking about here in Algiers for all of this year. We've been deeply impressed by the Algerian diplomacy, which has led us to a peace deal for Mali, a peace deal which now needs to be put into practice. We're looking forward to the signature of the peace agreement in Bamako this weekend by the coordination. And that's an event that really was not predicted a year ago. The progress that's been made on Libya, I'm certain that the Algerian contribution and setting the context and the encouragement that Algeria has given to all of the partners who were seeking something other than an inclusive settlement has been really very important. So that's one answer. Does that give you enough?
Yeah, because we're going to be going deeper in about security issues. But first of all, I'm going to try to focus on the economic part and the exchange. In 2013, Great Britain occupied the 7th position. We're still in the same field, the economic exchange. In regards, it occupied the 7th position in regards of the economic exchange with Algeria, with a total of $7.9 billion. How would you evaluate today the level of this economic exchange between the two countries?
Well, there's still room to grow. We have a huge trade imbalance where the United Kingdom imports far more from Algeria than we export to you.
It is mainly related to oil and hydrocarbon.
Mainly hydrocarbons, but there's always a discussion about apart from hydrocarbons. We know that when we're talking about economic diversification and modernisation in Algeria, we're looking at things other than hydrocarbons, but you can't take away the strategic importance of Algeria as an international hydrocarbons player. And for the United Kingdom, you are our second biggest source of crude oil imports after Norway. You're our second biggest source of LNG imports after Qatar.
I think the UK was the first country to import LNG from Algeria in the 60s.
Well, not only that, but the first ever LNG shipment anywhere in the world was between Algeria and the UK. So, I mean, we've got a very long track record together, which is why I'm quite happy not to say, well, ignoring hydrocarbons, because you can't. And we've got British companies here who are deeply engaged in the present and will be in the future. So that's a bedrock. I mean, you asked me why why the UK had taken so long to discover Algeria. I think it's why have we taken so long to rediscover Algeria? Because the history of our two countries goes back a very long way. It's 430 years this year since the first British consul was appointed to Algiers. And that's a very long diplomatic relationship. Throughout the centuries, the UK and Algiers were always very close. And indeed, we here are in the centre of what historically was known as the British Quarter of Algiers. And there aren't that many cities that have a British quarter. So I think things got lost in the difficult years after the Second World War, through the terrible predations of the Independence War, and then through the 90s, it all reinforced the absence. And I suspect we have been rather old-fashioned in our thinking, which has made us very slow to come to Algeria properly. And we still need much more good quality communication about Algeria in the UK.
But do you think it was from the Algerian part, this was the reason you didn't invest more or have more presence in Algeria?
I think generally the UK has been quite slow to develop its relationships with Francophone Africa. And we have very developed relationships with Anglophone Africa actually with Portuguese-speaking Africa as well. With Francophone Africa, much less so. But that's being tackled. My Prime Minister is absolutely clear that this is a country with whom we have to have the closest relationship. It's the closest non-European capital to London. And what geography gives us naturally as an advantage, we now have to develop economically and politically. And I'm, as I said earlier on, I'm delighted at the amount of effort that is going into that.
You spoke earlier about the UK-Algeria Trade and Investment Forum in 2014. It was in London, in December in London. Yeah. What were the main outcomes of this event, and how it is going to boost the economic exchange between the two countries?
Well, we're in the phase now of follow-up to that investment conference, and there are lots of people with good proposals about how to do a second conference, either here or in London. That isn't yet at a delivery point, but what we're getting is a large number of companies who, having heard from the CEOs and the ministers, particularly from Minister Bouchouareb and Ben Younes, who were in London at the conference, what the possibilities are. So we are now getting those visitors. And as all first-time British visitors to Algiers, they're having that sort of voyage of discovery of, oh, well, this isn't the country that we quite expected. But I note from the headlines of one newspaper this morning that even Algerians are capable of being surprised about the riches of this country through the medium of television. And I think there's so much that's very positive about this country that isn't really talked about. So in a way we're in a good place, because if you're not doing it and we're not doing it, again, it's the wrong sort of partnership, but you can see why. But Algeria is becoming very much better known. We've had visits in the last month from 3 British football clubs. Now that, I think, is a tremendously positive sign. What it will lead to, I don't know. It will be their independent decision. But we as an embassy have done everything possible to link them up to that spirit that I talked about of a warm welcome to the United Kingdom. And Arsenal, Liverpool and Chelsea have all gone away having had fantastic experiences, and they're working up what their future strategies will be. And we know that football is the route to the Algerian heart, and that's another thing that we've got in common. So I'm very hopeful that that sort of development is going to develop the relationship in the way that it needs to be, and to make it fully rounded. It's not just security, it's not just businessmen, it's ordinary people as well.
Mm-hmm. This is talking about the economic part, but if we're talking about British investment in Algeria, we have to mention the energy sector of the hydrocarbons, which is a key area for Algerian British corporations so far. British Petroleum is the largest British investor in Algeria so far, but unfortunately in January 2013, in Ain Amenas exactly, plant in Algeria was attacked. Unfortunately, 6 of the British people were killed. Do you agree with, I read reports from State Oil, the Norwegian company, and it's stating that the company had made a mistake by depending on local security. Do you think Algeria today is safe for British workers and British investment?
If we didn't think it was safe, we would advise them not to be here. We don't advise them not to be here. So I think there is a conclusion to draw from that. We operate a system of providing travel advice to British citizens everywhere in the world. And anybody can look at it. Go online now on the FCO website and look up travel advice for Algeria, and you can see the detail of what we're saying. We are essentially saying you shouldn't, unless you've got a really, you shouldn't really travel within a close distance of the borders of Niger, Mali and Libya. We have an advisory on large parts of Kabylie, for reasons that unfortunately are all too sort of recently reminded. But it's not an absolute ban. It's saying go there if you've got a serious need to go there. Be very aware of your own security. Stay in the towns. If you can avoid staying overnight, that might be better as well. But for the overwhelming part of Algeria, there is no travel restriction in place. There is a terrorist threat in Algeria. There is a terrorist threat in the United Kingdom. And we broadly assess the risk of a terrorist attack similarly in Algeria to in the United Kingdom.
Talking about the security issue and the terrorist attacks, is there any cooperation between the two countries in order to fight or prevent those kind of events in the future?
That was one of the things that President Bouteflika and Prime Minister Cameron agreed should be a priority when they met in January 2013, and we have been taking that forward. We bring together under Minister Messahel and our national security advisor our sort of national security teams, and we've done that 4 times since the attack at Tiganturin, and that is generating real practical cooperation as well as agreement on the analysis. So that's a very serious benefit. And it's a way that strong countries demonstrate that they're not going to be stopped from doing the right thing by a terrorist attack. And I think, I mean, you mentioned, thank you, the 6 British citizens who were killed, but we're very aware that there were 40 people killed in Tiganturin.
6 of them were British.
6 are British, 1 British resident, 1 Algerian, and many other nationalities. I think there's a slight sense that we owe it to their memory not to allow the terrorist agenda to win, and we won't. And I visited the plant in April. I was immensely impressed at the resources that the Algerian government puts in to securing the site and ensuring that this fundamental component both of Algeria's economy but also of our economy, because of the impact of the oil and gas imports that we have from Algeria, that can continue. And so, you know, at a really practical level out in the desert, but elsewhere, that counter-terrorist cooperation is doing good stuff.
But after 2 years since this event, actually more than 2 years actually, do you still feel that the British investors are scared or have a fear to come to Algeria?
Well, given that there's a lot of people who don't know much about Algeria, the things that they remember are stories from the past. And that necessarily means that, yes, there are too many people who are too focused on the security question. But we are able to put to answer their questions, to inform them, and to say to them, we, for the most part, see no security objection to their coming here, to their working closely with Algerian counterparts, and to invest here. And we were delighted at the announcement of AstraZeneca that they have made in the development of a new factory here, and that's very much what we want to see other British companies doing.
But do you think it's still the main or the key factor that British investors are not coming to Algeria?
No, I don't think it's the main factor at all. I'm afraid I think ignorance is the main factor. I think we need much more about Algeria in the UK. We could do with a really good publicity campaign about Algeria. That was one of the reasons that the investment conference was so important. We got 450 businessmen in the room with tremendous multiplication possibilities, and their companies all now know much more accurately. Unfortunately, there are very few British tourists who come to Algeria. The effect of tourism in keeping a certain picture of a country in the public mind is very important. And of your Maghreb neighbours, Tunisia and Morocco are more successful in that respect.
And also media, if I may say. I was watching a few times ago, a documentary on BBC, I think, or ITV, and it's about a journalist who traveled around Africa with a train, and he crossed almost all Algeria with train. So I think this kind of documentary will really promote the good picture of Algeria.
That was really good. That Griff Rhys-Jones, who's he's a household name in the UK. You know, Griff Rhys-Jones is doing a train journey through Africa. People will watch, and I shouldn't say this because it's probably not within copyright. But if you go onto YouTube, you will find the section on Algeria, and the picture it presents is fantastic. I mean, he clearly had a wonderful time. He filmed in May 2014. I thought the pictures of Constantine in particular are just divine. I mean, why anybody would not want to get there quickly just to see it for themselves, I think, is astonishing. We've also had a BBC crew here in the last couple of months, and they have filmed at Timgad and Tazult, and they filmed the tomb outside Constantine of an Algerian Berber who was the Roman governor of Britain, Quintus Lollius Urbicus. He's the first Algerian imperialist to join in an invasion of Britain. And I think it's fantastic that we can say that that's how far back our contact goes.
Common things between Algeria and United Kingdom.
Yeah, and who would have thought that it would have been Algeria occupying Britain? So, but when that goes out on the BBC, again, it's going to demonstrate, you know, some of the riches of this place. And we had a very famous academic who is fronting the programme. She expects there to be a real demand for people to go and see this wonderful site at Timgad. And when they see that, they'll want to go to Jamila, and they'll want to go to Tipaza and to many of the other Roman sites that, if they were in the UK, they would be massive, massive tourist draws, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be in this country too.
We'll talk more about the tourist part and the cultural exchange at the end of this interview. Let's go back to the investment. Yeah. And if we're talking about the oil industry, we have to talk also about Sonatrach and the corruption scandal that is facing this major company. Do you think these kind of scandals can really affect the relationship between investors in Algeria and investors in Britain, in Great Britain, to them, like to have an impact, negative impact to them to come here to Algeria?
Well, I think corruption is one of the factors that international investors do look at. It's an interesting question. What should one conclude from a corruption trial? Should one conclude that there is corruption, or should one conclude that there is an atmosphere where corruption will not be accepted? And I think it's the countries where there are trials for corrupt practices which are the better ones. If there's no sign of corruption, that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So it has to be one factor that they bear in mind. British companies who engaged in corrupt practices would be guilty of a criminal offence in the United Kingdom. I mean, my government is very, very strongly against corruption in international business. I'm under instructions from my government to take action if I suspect even that British companies are engaging in corrupt practices, and I would take action. What we say, and what we've said for some time, is that there is no need for British companies to engage in corrupt practices if they wish to do proper business in Algeria. And we stand by that. And to my knowledge, no British companies are. I'm not going to comment on that trial. It would be improper to do so. But action against corruption, I think, is always a good sign.
That's good. Let's move on to another topic, which is very important to Algerians as well, maybe for British. We were talking about tourists coming to Algeria, and maybe also tourists going to London and United Kingdom. In recent years, the flow of people going to United Kingdom has increased. You may agree on that with me. Do you have like numbers or specific? Do you see that there is increased numbers in Algerians going to United Kingdom? And if we talk about that, we have to talk about the visa facilities and how Algerian can have visas. Is there any development in this area as well?
Well, there has been an increase. I think if you look at it closely, I mean, I think our visa figures suggest that last year there was actually a small drop compared to 2013, very small drop. But if you look at it over a 5-year period, I think numbers have doubled.
If we talk about the future steps about the visa sector, what are the main strategic steps you're going to do to really facilitate more the issuing of visas here in Algeria to go to United Kingdom?
Well, at the moment we are responding to the applications that are made, and we haven't got any problem in capacity terms in doing so. So we're not doing anything proactively to increase capacity. Our capacity, as I say, is adequate at the moment.
Can we witness maybe like what's happened with other countries, a day when there will be no visa between Algeria and United Kingdom?
I'd be a bit reluctant to be misunderstood. That I can see that happening anytime soon. I think for the time frame of ambition for this interview, I think we should say that that doesn't look like a current likelihood.
Okay. In the end, if you may give a message first, because this video is going to be on our channel and also online, so I may think British will see it. So first message to British people to promote Algeria in one hand, and second message to Algerians, what you can say apart from your message about Ramadan?
Well, I would say to Brits, come and see. Come and see this very beautiful country with a fantastic climate, with lovely people, with more and more nice restaurants opening, it seems to me, by the week. Come and see for yourself. It's an incredibly tolerant country. Go and talk to your local Algerian in the UK. The Algerian diaspora is growing, and probably everybody knows an Algerian somewhere. And just go and find out what it's like, and then come and see. What I would say to Algerians is we want to be real partners of this country. We've got a historic deficit, which we have still not normalised. We're putting a lot of effort into that, and we are very clear that it's the success of Algeria which matters to us. I'm not here just to help British companies sell products, not at all. But I am here to help the Algerian people and government with whatever components of the UK are helpful, to make its own success. And Algerian success means that we can have that sort of much deeper relationship going into the future. So I think we're still in the very early days of a tremendous resurgence, about which I'm very, very, very confident.
In the end, I have to thank you for giving us this opportunity and for welcoming us here at your embassy.
Well, good to see you here.
I hope to see you again, and hope this relationship between the two countries is going to be much better in the next years. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Then, thank you very much. And you can say Sahayitkum also for the Eid is going after. You can say also.
I'll save that up for later.
Okay, thank you very much. إذا مشاهدينا كان هذا اللقاء الذي أجريناه مع سعادة السفير سفير المملكة المتحدة في الجزائر. إلى لقاء آخر بإذن الله. صحة رمضانكم وإلى اللقاء.